So I'm Carole. I work at Equator, a digital agency with offices in London and Glasgow. I'm based in the Glasgow one, hence the accent. If I go too Glaswegian or start to speak too fast, then just put your hand up and I'll stop, slow down. So I am a development team lead at Equator. I work mostly with the back end in .NET, Web API, and Umbraco, obviously, since I'm here. And mainly during my time there, I've worked with integrations with third parties like payment providers or booking systems and CRMs and data feeds and that kind of thing. I'm available on any of these socials or the email address if you want to chat. And I'm the organiser of the Glasgow Umbraco Meetup. So if you ever want to come to Glasgow, come along. You're more than welcome. And also the local Ladies of Code Meetup. And we are Glasgow, well, they're all over UK and some in Europe actually as well, but we are a local meetup to encourage women to get involved in the tech community, to attend meetups and to speak at meetups. So that's the goal. Yeah. So at Equator, we are quite big for a digital agency. We're over 180, I think the number is now, of digital experts, but that's a good mix of people. So in the development team, we have front-end and back-end developers and testers. But outside of the dev team, we have design, marketing, we have SEO, we've got our branding agency as part of the team, and we also have an innovation team, which is really cool. So they start looking into emerging tech before it's time to really come to the development team and actually deliver products to our clients. We do a lot of work beyond just websites. We've started looking at Alexa skills and chatbots, like stuff with beacons that can be dotted around locations and stuff. So it's really cool. And some of these big names that we work with, you'll notice a few of them. Maybe if you're from the UK, you'll recognise some of the brands more, but they're hotels. And that's a bit of a spoiler for later, for the main case study I'm going to go through. So, what do I mean by go live is just day one? I guess I mean putting something live, everything up until that point is just getting ready to go. When it goes live, that's when the fun really starts. Particularly for us, we tend to work in kind of longer term partnerships with clients. It's not just, here's the site, chuck it on the server, bye. We work with retainers and conversion rate optimization and kind of helping them develop their strategy as a business. So in the particular case study I'm going to show you, it really didn't feel like a kind of MVP, like a minimal thing at the time. But over the course of, I think it's about 18 months that most of the project was done after go live. You realise in hindsight that it really was like a kind of just a starting point and a bit of an MVP. So the main case study I'm going to work with is village hotels. They're all in the UK, so not everyone might be too aware of them. But Equator have worked with Village for over 10 years now. And I have worked there for literally since day one of my years at Equator, because I was brought in as a Java developer to take over what was the Village booking engine, which was written in Java. And then over the years, that's been rewritten in .NET. I switched to .NET, and I started to pick up Umbraco from there. So we've been through various iterations of the site over the 10 years, various brands. Even from this picture, this isn't the brand, it's no purple anymore, it's all black and white. So yeah, we've kind of built many sites as they have evolved as a company. So about almost 2 years ago now, we launched with the latest version of that. So the challenge there was a new website, a bespoke booking engine for that website, for people to actually book hotel rooms, a new brand. It was actually a whole new hosting environment as well. And also they were changing all their business systems. So just a small task then. No, it was a really big task. They were kind of going through a complete business overhaul really of all their systems that they were using, including the website and the brand. So being a new brand, that was a challenge in itself. Not really for me, because I don't do design or front end. So I care, of course I care, but I didn't really care in the context of my work. So yeah, that was one challenge, was even getting to the point of starting build, because of the kind of design iterations and making sure it was on brand as per the brand agency. And also getting to know these new booking management systems and payment systems. They were switching from one booking, they call it a property management system, to another. And that is literally what makes a hotel tick. You know, if bookings aren't in there, they don't know who's going to turn up at front desk. They don't know which rooms are allocated to who. So moving that for a hotel company is quite a big deal. So here's what we got. This is when we went live. We've kind of split it into two to begin with. So we have the main site, which is running Umbraco. Kind of what you would expect. It's .NET MVC. We've added some web API controllers in there, and I'll explain later why. And this is where users will find hotels. They'll find all the information they need. They can contact Village, and they can book tables and basically do everything apart from room bookings. And on the booking engine is what it sounds like, is where we have those booking integrations. That was built in Angular JS, because it was over 2 years ago we started build, and it was cool then. And more recent booking engines we've been building, we've actually been kind of taking what we've learned on this project, but it's actually, the one I'm working on at the moment is actually in React JS, which I'm sure when I give a similar talk in 2 years won't be the cool one anymore. It's also got .NET Web API behind that, so that's what the Angular JS calls. And it's got room booking integration with this new system, payment provider integration, and interestingly on hotels, it's not just a case of just take a payment and pass it on. It's sometimes you have to take a full payment, and sometimes it's kind of a guarantee, a check that the payment is there, but don't actually take it. So that's an added complexity for hotels. There's also an insurance integration, so if you have to cancel, or the weather's bad and you can't make your break, and it's got API calls that it makes over to the main site to get content, because we've already got all this in Umbraco, the opening times and hotel information. So we kind of use Umbraco headless, I guess, to get that over to here. So we wanted to make it as flexible as possible. We've been building hotel sites for a while. We've worked with Village for a long while, and we know that systems will change, as we've learned. And also, this switch over from one system to another wasn't just, okay, we go live and we're now switched over. It was hotel by hotel, and there was 28 of them at the time. So they have to do those in, it basically took a year for them to switch over from all of their hotels. So we had to make it configurable in Umbraco. We actually had to have their old booking engine up for a while, but just rebranded to their new brand, and this shiny new Angular one. And as hotels switched from one to the other, we made it flexible that they could just change it in Umbraco, click publish, and users would now be sent to the new booking engine. So that was really important to us and the client. They shouldn't need us as part of that process of switching over hotels. And one thing that we done was we made it a component-based design. So right from when we spoke to the designers, rather than building specific pages, this is the weddings page, and this is the gym page, and this is the hotel room page. It was just a set of base templates of components that we could then build up to make any page. And it's done like this in Umbraco. So it's a gym page. We've got a components folder, and these are all the components that the client has put on there. Now, obviously, with great power comes great responsibility for a user. They can put anything. They can make designers really unhappy because they can put components in any order. So as part of this, we had to kind of give a recommended style guide that they should follow. And users don't, but they try their best. So this is the kind of architecture of what it looked like when we first went live. We've got the grey ones here are the actual applications themselves. The main site is where the brochure site was in, with Umbraco obviously, and a suite of kind of booking APIs that the booking engine could talk to. And the booking engine, it has the booking journey itself, and also a small custom admin that lets you control things that don't belong in Umbraco, like rates and rooms for hotels, because that content is more suited to being in there. Part of the reason that we split these out was because we've learned from our previous experience in hotels that, one, they might want to switch to another third party at some point. So let's not embed the booking journey in the website. And also, it means that we can deploy with less risk and with less impact. If we want to just do a website release, we don't have to fully regression test and release the booking engine, and vice versa. So it kind of makes releases that little bit easier and less scary. And we've done here is it's like a service layer between the websites and all of these third parties, so that if they do and when they do switch them, the booking or the main site shouldn't really care. It's calling the service layer saying, hey, give me availability for this hotel on this date. It doesn't really care what's underneath that, as long as it gets its data in the right format back. So it went live. Yay, party. But now what? It went live, I think, around May 2016. And there was the initial stabilisation period, little panics, a few releases with bug fixes and stuff. But we've done some really cool stuff afterwards to follow the kind of business transformation that was happening. And a lot of it is to do kind of like in the keynote this morning when Niels mentioned you can just digitize their process, or you can use tech to solve business problems. And I really think we've helped to do that with some of these things. So I'm going to take you through some of the kind of main examples. Throughout the time of all these projects, we have also had just a general kind of retainer work and conversion rate optimization changes, which is our insights team kind of looking at Google Analytics, seeing dropout points from the site, what can we do to fix it, doing some A/B testing. But these are the main projects that kind of went alongside all of those. So the main one was corporate bookings. So corporate users, businesses, they book hotel rooms differently. They generally have a special rate if they're booking loads of rooms. And Village used to have a completely separate app for corporate bookings that we built and we maintained. However, it was separate, and because it's not the main priority, it's kind of not used by most users, it kind of very much fell behind with tech. It was in web forms. And it just, any cool features that we added to the main booking journey, it just didn't get, it just got left behind. So we decided in the beginning, let's not do that. We shouldn't make it separate. We should make our booking journey flexible to suit all these different kind of user journeys that will be coming into it, which obviously adds complexity to the booking journey, but we had to balance out the kind of pros and cons. And I think having them embedded together it got more pros than cons. So users in the old system, so businesses, they had to be added manually by Village. They had someone at HQ had to add these in, approve them, and things like that. So the challenge was a booking journey for authorised business users to receive a bespoke booking experience with a special rate for them, and an authorisation process so that Village could actually set up that rate and things like that, not just anyone can sign up and start getting discount. So what we've done, we have the process of users sign up. They are then get a confirmation email telling them, don't worry, we're going to review it, we'll set this up and you'll get an email when you're able to make your bookings. Village, someone from Village goes in, they just have to quickly approve the user. They don't have to set up the user's personal details or anything because the user's done that. And they just have to set up the type of account they've got and the rate that's special to them. And then the user can log in and they can book a room, getting a bespoke booking journey that's specifically for them and their business. So what we done was we used Umbraco membership. Why make our own authentication for in the booking engine when we've already got Umbraco here to do that? We built a custom workflow for approval within Umbraco. So when people first sign up, they are actually not authorised to log in, but they're put in the Umbraco membership section. And then once they're approved by Village, when they're in the booking engine, we actually use an API from the brochure site to the booking engine to find out if they're logged in, and if they're logged in, which type of account do they have, what's their rate, and things like that. And that's what personalises that Angular booking engine for them. So here it is. We built this custom section that's got authorised users in it. and this is a list of anyone who's unauthorised. It's not crowded with every single user, it's only specific ones. That basically, these need actions. When someone from Village comes in, they can see immediately what they have to do. And that takes you to the membership section, which I'm sure you recognise. And we've added a custom tab to this and some custom fields, specifically around the payment type and the rate code, and that's what makes their booking engine bespoke for them. So this is what the app looks like after that. These are the new ones in kind of yellow-orange colour. We've got the My Account section in the website, and we have the booking engine kind of corporate journey embedded in there. So next up, we had gift vouchers. So gift vouchers have always been kind of dealt with offline for Village. You couldn't buy them online and you couldn't redeem them, which isn't great. So as part of this project, we were trying to kind of take any of these offline processes and extra work for an admin for the client and put them online and take away that admin. So yeah, gift voucher online purchase and generate e-vouchers. So we didn't even have to then get people to purchase it online, but then have to send them out to them manually. This was e-vouchers. And we then wanted to extend the booking journey to let you redeem these gift vouchers online. So this is what the website looked like after. What we done was we created a gift vouchers doc type. We can have many of them with many different promotions. So rather than just making it an MVC area and like a standard or an Angular app even, and making it kind of standard payment journey, we know that they do promotions on gift vouchers around. They sometimes do, you know, buy a voucher for £25, but you actually get 50 to spend in store. So we decided to make this Umbraco. It can all be customised. And what's really nice is the content for the e-voucher can be managed in Umbraco too. So when you print that out and you'll give it as a gift to someone, everything that's in that for that promotion is content managed. And another third party to add to the mix was a gift voucher generation third party that we integrated with, and it's actually what's used in hotels. So if you take your voucher physically into the hotel, it's the same system that they'll be redeemed against. And then in the booking journey, we've added voucher redemption. So we've amended the Angular there so that if someone adds a gift voucher, it has to go and call the API, check that there is credit on the voucher, of course, and then vary how much is asked for at the payment step, if the payment step is even asked for, because you might not need to pay for anything. So again, it's kind of, we've got a big, I won't put it on the slide because it's horrible, we've got a big kind of workflow diagram of all the scenarios you can go through on the booking engine. And as you can see, after only like 2 more, it's getting quite wild. Coupons I'll run through quick. It is very like gift vouchers, but these aren't monetary. They're not worth a particular amount. They will be gifted to people for like a free room. You can have a free stay for 1 night at any hotel. They wanted to have a landing page, so you'll get an email saying, hey, you've got a free room, click here, takes you to a nice landing page on the main site, but then has to integrate through to the booking journey. But it's a very specific booking journey where there's no prices because it's free unless you add extras, and it kind of, again, gets all different parts of that workflow diagram of if you add extras or add extra nights, then you have to ask for payment, but otherwise you don't. So what we have in Umbraco is, because it's component-based, with this kind of book a room bit down here is just a new component, and that's the coupon component that you can, in the drop-down, pick your hotel, and you're taken straight through to the availability calendar for that hotel. Importantly, hidden behind the kind of check availability button is a rate code that means it knows that you're able to book that with a coupon. You can't book any old rate with a coupon. So again, there's some kind of clever stuff when linking between the brochure and the booking engine. So yeah, another box to the booking engine. It's getting crowded. Yeah, just everything I've mentioned there. It links to Umbraco, and it's a variation on the logic in the Angular app. So this one isn't actually Umbraco, but it's a really interesting one, and was actually came out of our conversion rate optimization kind of suggestions from our insights team. They decided that people needed live pricing earlier on rather than when you just get to the booking engine. They wanted pricing right up front in the hotel, kind of on the Glasgow hotel page, for example, to give users an indication of how much that hotel costs. The challenge here is the booking APIs for these third parties can be slow, especially if you're asking for calendar. They have to send you 30 or 60 days worth of data, and we don't want to keep users waiting that long. And price changes, they happen throughout the day, so that added an extra complication. So this is what we got on the top of the hotel page. It's got tonight, tomorrow, and the weekend, and also a button to take you through to the calendar. And how we done this was we built a third app now, the Availability API. It's purely web API, and it returns in JSON that data that you saw that populates this component here. So what we've done is it's a hangfire task. If anyone uses hangfire for their scheduled tasks in .NET, that runs every 15 minutes for each hotel and goes in and gets a cache of the calendar availability. And it's no problem that call can take a long time because it's a background app. No customer will feel that pain. And then to bring that through to the live site, we call our API that's got it all cached rather than the third party's API. It also means we can do some nice stuff around here with the before pricing that we've got. Because we're calling this over days and months, we can see what price did that used to be, what price is it now. So yeah, that is an extra app that we have there. That leads us on nicely to Google Hotel Price Ads, which again isn't Umbraco. I'll get back to Umbraco soon. But it is something that we're really proud of, and I'm particularly proud of because getting people to book online direct with the client is all of our hotel clients' challenge. There's booking.com, there's Expedia, there's all these online travel agents that they have to pay commission to. So any sale that you can bring back to your hotel is really important. So we wanted to Google have this feature that when you search for a hotel in a certain city and it's already got the price there. We wanted to be there rather than just be booking.com and any of the third parties OTAs. So it was a very new feature when we approached Google about this, and they had only selected partners to do that, and they generally were the integrators themselves or kind of hotel product companies. There was no agencies on that list, so we had to work for a while to convince them that we knew what we were doing and that we wouldn't cause them loads of technical problems. And we did, and I was really, really happy with that. So myself with Luke and our marketing team worked with Google on that. So this bit down here, I get to on Google say, that's my data, I done that. So we built an app that, on this slide here, it says here we send our live pricing to Google. Google come and ask for it, and there's an endpoint waiting for them. But again, it's a kind of a variation on this availability API. It's the same data really, but just given in the format that Google need. And within that we have logic so that when people click this link here, it takes you straight to the first step of the booking engine for the right hotel, the right date. Straight through to that. So we then have to tell Google this is the format that you should send people through on. So yeah, that is something that was is quite innovative for hotel clients, and it means they can get direct booking straight to there. So that was really cool. So back to Umbraco. We initially didn't have Umbraco forms on the site. We had a custom form because there was all sorts of crazy logic. If you chose a certain hotel, only certain things could show, but then you had to, for each of those certain topics for certain hotels, you had to send it to a specific place. So maybe it could have been done in Umbraco forms in hindsight, but it just felt really custom and complicated. But the client has a need for kind of ad hoc forms, little competitions or events that are happening around the hotel. They shouldn't really have to come to developers each time for that. So we, of course, give them Umbraco forms. They can create and edit their own forms, and we've shown them that they can upload custom templates that they can then send for each of these events to their customers, which is cool. And we've also built a custom workflow for Umbraco forms, so that for everyone that's uploaded, it sends it through to their CRM, which was also another system that changed throughout the build. So we went live with one CRM, with their legacy one, and we switched it over before this, thankfully, so we didn't have to rewrite the workflow. So custom forms, it goes in here, and our website is also getting quite crowded. So this one is really interesting to me and to other people that know about hotels. It's a really specific problem, but I think it's exactly what we were chatting about earlier. It's a business problem that was causing a headache for the client. So we used tech to try and solve that for them. So I won't go into too much detail, but the main point is that we were able to kind of automate a system that meant that kind of took that headache away from them. So the problem was we are taking payments for users online during the booking journey, and does anyone done payment integration use 3DS, the 3D Secure? So that's great. In the booking, their online bookings are secure, and the client themselves are kind of protected for fraud through that. But when people book on the phone, there's no way to do that, and that was kind of leaving them open to some problems. And alongside all of the kind of cool stuff that we were doing with our new website and integrating with all these systems, they also put self-check-in and kiosks in the reception, which is cool. I really like that because I don't want to, after I've travelled for ages, talk to people. So if you can just use a self-check-in, then great. But for these people that booked on the phone, this was a problem because they hadn't already fully paid before, so they couldn't use this self-service, which wasn't ideal. So what we done was we built, again, another hang-fire task that goes to the third-party booking system, gets all the ones booked off of the website and processes them, sends an email off to the customers and says, hey, come online, you can secure your payment, and it means you can get all XYZ cool features when you actually get to the hotel. They've got an app and stuff that you can use, but only if you're in a certain status in the system. So it is worth it for users. There was the challenge of that seems users might not trust that, because why would you be emailed to say come and put in your details? So there was a kind of communication around that when they were booking on the phone, that you will get this email. It's not phishing. You should put your bank details in here, don't worry. And then we had to update the status of the booking afterwards. That meant everything was in alignment, and they could then use the app, they can use the self-check-in, and generally get a really good experience when they stay at Village, which is what we're after. And it caused less headaches for the client. They had more protection against fraud, and also it takes up less time at the front desk because more people can use the self-check-in because they've already secured their payment, leaving their staff available to deal with customers and actually deal with useful customer service rather than just taking payments. So here we go. Booking engine is where that lives. Felt the most appropriate place because it already had the kind of payment provider integrated and obviously the third-party booking system. So it's just another route, and it basically drops them in right at the payment stage rather than they've already booked their room and chosen the right hotel, so just take them straight to the payment stage. So another one that we had was about last year, I think late last year, Village were launching this really techie, cool new hotel down in Portsmouth. It was kind of like their flagship one. And they wanted a site to kind of show it off. They could point people to and be like, hey, look how cool this new hotel is. But they needed it quickly and with not a lot of budget, because clients always want that. So we decided the best thing to do was we've already got all their styles in the main site. We've already got Umbraco. And we've already got this kind of reusable store of components, so let's just make it a second site within Umbraco. And we've made this hopefully configurable back to the kind of Lego bit earlier, that if they open a new hotel, they can kind of use this as a baseline to start that. So here's what it looks like. Slightly different to the regular site, just for this kind of main homepage, but all the sub-pages are really made up of the same components that are on the main site. And what's cool is the new components that we build for the microsites we can use on the main site and vice versa. So again, flexibility, and kind of as we grow, we don't want to restrict where these new cool features can be used. So here it is. We've added multi-domain to the CMS. We've reused all of our components. Just a new layout there. So it was mostly a front-end task because having a second site in Umbraco isn't really too hard. So it was mainly our front-end team and design team that had to work on this. And then it just nicely hooks into the existing booking journey and all works well. So for each of those case studies I've been through, there's kind of been a challenge, a kind of business challenge from the client and a solution that we've solved it for them. But the next few are things that have been kind of driven from our innovation team and more just cool rather than solving business problems, really. But by adding these cool things, it's good for the customer and it's good for us because we get to play with some cool tech. So the customer wanted to have, they were going to buy screens not quite this big. I've got a photo for scale in a minute. They were going to get photos that, screens that they could put photos to, put PDFs on that's just like, hey, we've got a spa, you know, static, not really exciting. But we found out that we're going to get this tech. Yeah, some of the ads are interesting, yeah. We said, well, wait, let us do something cool. How are you going to get the assets onto there? What are you going to do? So we decided to content manage it in Umbraco. And it's location specific, so this is in the Glasgow hotel, because that's the one I can go on video. But each hotel can have different ads if they've got different offers on. But really interestingly, we've got, did anyone use the personalization groups that was mentioned in the keynote earlier? Yeah, so if you know how powerful it can be. We've used it, so not for personalization because there's no users really using this big screen, but more for context. So we know what time of day it is. We know what day of the week it is. We also built an extension to it, hooked into a weather API that we could contextualize the content. So if it was warm outside, then you could maybe try and sell ice cream instead of tea or coffee, I don't know. So that was really cool. And yeah, so I'll show you how we kind of set that up in personalization groups just now if no one's used it. So the way it was, the actual screens themselves were set up was there's the gym screen there, you can see, and there's a folder of screens underneath, and that's just each of those slides, each of those videos is a content node within Umbraco. And importantly, there's this personalization groups here that if you add one, if you don't add one, that slide will always show. That's fine. And if you add one, that slide will only show in certain criteria, and that's what makes them really powerful. It was already cool that it was going to be content managed rather than just, you know, a PDF on a TV. But this is what makes it really cool, and it means that they can customize those ads to whatever time they want them to. So this specific one, they do a burger deal on a Friday. So they wanted to have it Friday, but specifically between 6 in the morning and 11, and 4 in the afternoon till 8 at night. Not sure why it's those times. I think that gap in the middle is more business users, so they're not trying to sell it to them. But yeah, so this can then be attached to this here, and that slide will only be shown in that criteria on that day of the week and that time of the day. So it's really powerful. And it started off as just a screen at the Glasgow hotel to try it out. And it's actually been rolled out to all their, I think they've got 29 or 30 hotels now. And they've got them in their gyms. So you'll notice there's two kind of root nodes for this. So they've got one in the reception. That's the one that's called Smart Screen there. And they've also got the gym screen. So we built it in a way that they can be hotel specific, but they can have more than one under a hotel. Again, we're going for the kind of flexibility and reuse thing. So the challenges are, the screen's really big. I know I'm little, but it's really big. So when we were first having a think, we basically just got one in the office and we were like trying to build this, like what else can we do? We decided initially to disable touch on it because one, people will try and mess with it and kind of take the app and maybe put something else on. And two, UX on this really needs to be thought through, because we put the website on it and it was great, it was responsive, so it worked, of course. But the make a booking button is just above where my hand is. So you'd have to be careful of where you put certain buttons and call to actions, and you need to, it's a whole different type of UX that I'm particularly sympathetic to, being not very tall. You have to make sure that actions you want people to do are reachable, literally. So we decided to make it view only for now, and just all that functionality we mentioned before, so it's more of an advertising thing than interactive for now. So one of the other challenges was the video kept crashing. So I should explain that how it was built originally, it was just a web page. It was an MVC Razor page. But these have to be left on for hours and hours and days. And we were finding that it was crashing. And the internet connection in hotels, it was on Wi-Fi and could be a bit rubbish, really. So we had to think through, I say we, it was Jared, one of my colleagues who works in the innovation team, had to think of a solution. So what he'd done was he changed it to a PowerShell script that calls an API to get that the content really from Umbraco. It caches it and it adds the media items to a playlist that a media player plays, really. And that's configurable per hotel, as I mentioned before. And this is just another thing added to the website. But the client really liked it. As I say, they've rolled it out throughout all of their hotels, which is really cool. Because I go to the gym in the Glasgow village, I literally get to walk by it, I say every day when I go. And I built that. It's something physical in the real world that you built. So that's really cool. Most of the time it's just on a website and you can't point at it and say, that was me. So the next thing we've done, if anyone was at Code Garden last year might recognise the first part of this, was a hotel concierge. So we put Amazon Echoes in certain hotel rooms. And from this, they could get content, mainly what are the opening times for the spa or the gym or the coffee shop, or local events that are happening nearby. But it was all just Alexa giving you information rather than any kind of interaction. But what we'd done was we had all this content in Umbraco anyway. We had it, it's already been sent to the booking engine, the opening times and things like that. So we initially it was a real proof of concept. It was our innovation team saying, let's just see what we can do. But I was like, wait, stop. We have this data. Literally give me an hour to build an API endpoint and it will be more future-proof, so let's do it. So we did, which is good. And we ended up, again, rolling it out to more hotels, so I'm really glad I pushed to make that an API, and it wasn't just hard-coded for a certain hotel's opening times. And we also learned loads around, again, UX for this, because it's not a person sitting on a browser or on their phone, so I won't go into too much detail now, I don't think I've got time. But in my Code Garden talk last year, I mentioned about when you're configuring Alexa skills, you have to think about intents and like utterances, so that's how people interact with it to call certain functions within your app. So yeah, I think that's online if you want to know more about Alexa skills. And that was built in Node.js, so what was really interesting, I think it was in the headless talk earlier, they mentioned that one of the guys was a front-end guy, but because it was headless, it was just an API, so we didn't actually need a server-side developer to do it. So that was the same thing. I'd spent that hour or so on the API, handed it over, and it was actually a couple of front-end devs that built the Alexa skill. So in phase one, you could ask for opening times and you could get local attractions, and it was really cool. We were the first people to put it in hotels, and it was really innovative. But we wanted to take it a little bit further. And actually, yeah, that stuff's quite cool, but you could just Google that, you could find it on the site. We wanted to interact with systems and let people do different actions. We wanted people to be able to purchase late checkout. So if you've been at the pub the night before and you want to check out later, you can add that onto your booking. So you can ask Alexa to do that. And that hooks into the booking third party that I mentioned earlier. So that's another integration for that one. You can book a taxi. So you can hey Alexa, book me a taxi for whatever time. And it does. I'll come back to that later because it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. And you can order room service. So again, that's another third party that we've added on, that you can, Alexa will kind of give you the room service items and you can tell it which ones you want. And food turns up at your door and you don't even have to speak to a real person. It's great. Just the really antisocial one. But yeah, from a tech point of view, it's really cool. So what we done for that was we built a custom dashboard per hotel that they could track what taxis were booked, what room service was booked, and also which echoes belonged to which room, because that didn't exist. I was speaking to Martin, our innovation guy, and apparently Amazon are bringing out a kind of enterprise solution for managing loads of devices, but that didn't exist because we were quite early at using the Alexa stuff. So we built a custom dashboard. This one tells you when a taxi was requested and which room it was requested from. And this is where front desk, so as I said, it was smoke and mirrors. It actually just sends a request to front desk and they phone you a taxi. There's no API for taxis at the moment. So, and this gives a timeline for the person at front desk. They can update that status. They can say that it's actually been booked and it's been actioned. And if it's not actioned, it can be escalated to like the hotel manager. So to make sure that things just don't go into a system and then die off, they actually get actioned. And this next one is just a general log, so you can see that room service was requested for a certain room and which items they ordered. So they're just numbered items from the menu here. But it's good if people, say that they ordered room service, but our Alexa ordered them the wrong thing or something like that. It's at least a log of what went through. And this is the really quite cool bit. It's associating certain devices with rooms, and this didn't exist at the time. I'm still not sure of the status of the Amazon one, but it's per hotel. So this particular version of the skill was only put in the Portsmouth Hotel for launch because it was their cool new techie hotel. But we can have Alexa's echoes set up for each hotel if and when they decide to roll that out. And we actually built a skill for registering these two rooms. So when you put them in a room, you can talk to Alexa and say, go into setup mode, assign yourself to this room, kind of thing. So that was really cool. It was a real challenge because this didn't exist, but we knew we needed it, so we kind of had to make it work. And again, working with another third party with the room service was quite a challenging one because it was a new one that the client was using for this hotel again. And with putting new systems in, the first time's always the challenge. And also getting the UX right for ordering room service items was quite difficult when it's voice driven. I would do a live demo, but Scottish accents in Alexa and live demos just don't mix. So here's how it looks on the application diagram again. This website one has grown quite a bit. And this is another new app here. This is the Alexa skill that lives in a Lambda function on AWS, and it's written in Node and just kind of consumes our APIs. So back when I showed you at the start the architecture with the service layer and how the apps looked, this is how it looks now. I've not even got room for the service layer bit and the services underneath, but you can get the picture. We've added a lot to the app. Most of this was, I think, the Alexa skill went live about just before Christmas when the Portsmouth Hotel opened. I like to say launched because we're used to launching things like, places open. So that's quite a lot that we've done between it going live and getting to this point. It did escalate quickly, like real quick. And there were some challenges that we had along the way that I'll discuss soon. But it was really cool because when you're working on it, you don't really realise, you just feel like I'm still working on this same project and the same code base. And it's when you look at that diagram before, and it doesn't want to go away from her, and you look at that, you're like, oh wait, I've actually done quite a lot in this year and a half, and we've added loads to the system. So when I asked at the start, so what do I mean by go live is just day one? I guess it's this: a phased approach for business transformation. But that's too salesy and buzzwordy for me. But basically, yeah, the business was going through such a big change that if we had done all of those things in that application diagram to begin with, it probably would have just went live soon. It probably would have taken, that 18 months to go live. So putting what was necessary live and changing their systems one by one, rather than like a big bang trying to do everything at once, because it would have taken a long time for the development team, but it would have been chaos for the business as well. So this phased approach is what we went through. So I thought I'd show you the business transformation quickly for all the third parties, just for scale. This is what they went live with. So Umbraco fed the website. It also feeds the Wi-Fi in the hotels. I didn't actually mention that in the rest of the slides. And the booking engine APIs. And here's the booking third parties that we used. So all those yellow boxes are third parties, which for any site, that's actually quite a few for the initial build. But, like, drum roll. What it looks like now is really horrible to put in a diagram. Apologies. But there's loads of third parties. Some of which have changed throughout the project, like the CRM, the table booking. We've got two, because again they've put a new one in a different hotel, and we've made that toggleable in Umbraco as well, so that it's configurable. But yeah, there's 2 extra apps and all these extra things fed from Umbraco, and all of these extra third parties. So it's been a journey. So the things we've learned is, the first one is just stop, like take a minute, because what you're going to do, even if you're under a lot of time pressure, will affect you down the line. A really quick, hacky way to get it done isn't the answer in a kind of big enterprise solution like this, especially when things are going to be reusable. So, like I've said there, make it future-proof if you can. Like that one of saying, just let's not prototype this, let's make it work properly, because again, it paid off. We're able to use that API for the phase 2, but also for whatever the next new cool IoT thing is. Maybe it will be when the Apple one launches, or Google Actions, or something else that I'm not cool enough to know what's next. Fast-moving changes in multiple projects. So these didn't happen sequentially. Some of them kicked off and then got paused because the third party wasn't ready yet. We also had the retainer still happening. We had kind of emergency fixes and campaigns to launch and stuff. So it got complicated. You'd have branches of code everywhere. You'd have different projects running, and trying to kind of keep them steady and have the right code and the right project getting launched at the right time. For us and for the client as a business was interesting. And replacing systems can delay projects. That might seem like a really obvious one, but with so many systems changing and launching, and a lot of them were actually quite young as products as well, a lot of the ones that we went with, or that Village went with, they sometimes weren't able to be implemented as quickly as we might like, or they weren't ready to be launched as quickly as we might like, so projects kind of got delayed along the way. But it all went live, and it all went well. And hopefully you can see my point of putting a website live is just one thing, but it's how we kind of maintain it, and we kind of make those solution decisions throughout the whole project to make it maintainable and flexible, and hopefully future-proof for the client. So thank you. Can take some questions now if anyone has any, or you can ping me on any of these social or email.